Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Wednesday night hobby hangout. I hope everybody's well. Hope you're all having a lovely week so far. For, what is it, Wednesday? It's been one of them weeks where I don't know whether I'm coming or going with the days. I'm just checking in the background here, make sure. Yes, my background music's just like tinkering away there. How is everybody? I hope you're all well. Let's have a look and see who of our lovely folks we've got in the chat tonight. Peter Nicholas, nice and early. Hello, mate. How are you doing? I'm just looking up there to see if there was anybody earlier. No, Peter says he was ready to hobby. That was at 5 to 6 tonight. Marcus was in nice and early as well. Says good morning from Texas. Good morning to you, sir. Peter Kuhlman, good evening to you as well, mate. Blizzaz was in as well. Says Ola's hooligans. How are you doing? Peter says I'm here to hobby and drink beer, and I'm all out of beer. It's not good, mate. That was it. 25 past 8. You could have went and got some. Actually, no, I'm forgetting we start 8:30. I was thinking we had like half an hour to go when I read that. Tulmort, good evening to you, mate. We've also got Carl Check-in. Good evening. Dave's Mini Menagerie. Hello to you. Dave says, I was trying to write a script, but my dogs decided to have a play with it. What script were you writing, mate? Is it something for videos? Is it a job? I don't know, mate. Good evening, Jill. How are you? Hope you're well. Michael Cowan says, Reed, how's it going? I'm sure that didn't mean anything to anybody else. VJ, good morning, mate. I hope you are well. Nigel Jones, good evening to you. Peter's painting these German helmets and gas canisters. Joy. It sounds a lot of fun, man. I'm sure it is. Peter says, I see you got the football helmets back. Do you know what it is, mate? They're over the other side of the room. I can see them from where I am. I put these up yesterday. I was interviewing somebody yesterday, and I needed something to kind of put on the shelves to be a bit more neutral. So Star Wars won the day out, and I haven't moved them since then. Good evening, John Estler. Hope you're well, mate. No games this evening, I take it. Yoakum, good evening to you as well. VJ's just in from his run, hitting the shower, so we'll be listening in the background. No worries, mate. Dave says it was just a painting vid. I painted up some Christmas conversions of some Trollocs. There you go, mate. You're just kind of doing your voiceover work. Very, very nice. So tonight, folks, as you can see, we're in the Monday night spot tonight. So we're doing something a bit different tonight. We're going to be building some minis, but I'm also going to I'm going to try and kill two birds with one stone. I've been a little bit rushed off my feet this week with some editing work and stuff like that. So I think yesterday I spent pretty much from about 9 o'clock in the morning right the way through till last night editing videos. I've then done exactly the same thing from about 8:30 this morning right the way through to about 6 tonight, and then getting ready for this evening. So I didn't have a lot of time to get painting stuff ready, and to be honest, I could do with kind of like sort of having my eyes get a little bit of a rest, to be honest. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take a look at this beautiful set, and we're going to build up the minis. And what I'm going to do is I'm not really somebody that does lots of unboxings. I generally don't do unboxing videos, but I thought what I'd do is I'd do a semi unboxing, give you my thoughts on the contents, whether I think it's value for money, whether I think it's kind of something that folks might want to pick up, and then I'll record that and I'll kind of edit it down to a video for another evening for those that don't come in, because the Wednesday nights don't do fantastic numbers, to be fair. So there's plenty of people don't see this. So I thought, yeah, I might as well record it as well and kill two birds with one stone. So yeah, that's the plan this evening, folks. And obviously, as we go on, if you want to ask any questions while I'm unboxing it and have a look inside. I wanted to kind of get a video up quite quickly, with being fortunate enough to be sent this early, but unfortunately I've been rushed off my feet, so I've not had a chance. Dave saying, wish it was a job. One day, mate, who knows? I said the same thing. I thought I'd never get to do this for a job, and here I am. Jill says, still not having a great brain week, but bashing through some basing to finish off minis and feel good about it. When you're kind of having a bit of a downtime, Jill, do you ever... I find personally, for me, having something to look forward to take my brain off the kind of the here and now. If I've got something to focus on in the future, it kind of helps me. Is that something that you try? Is it a little trick that works for you? Blizz says, I got my overgourd on the table tonight. Nice, mate. Nice one. Peter says, did you interview Mark Hamill? I didn't interview Mark Hamill. I'll tell you who I interviewed. I interviewed Lewis Clark of TT Combat, who was their kind of like studio head, or studio like lead design, I think he is, or design head or something like that. I forget the exact title. But I had a good chat with him about TT Combat and about Carnivale and about the future of the game and about their production and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, that'll be coming up on the channel in the next few weeks. I've got a few interviews in the bag now that I've done over the last sort of 4 or 5 days or something like that. They just need editing and tidying up and stuff, and audio kind of sort of sorting out and things. But as you can imagine, kind of doing this as a job doesn't always kind of it certainly doesn't pay minimum wage. So I need to kind of take some extra work on now and again just to top up the coffers. So I'm doing some paid work, on the side of do for somebody else. So that's what's kind of sucked up my time a little bit this week. Dave says, Malifaux versus Wild West Exodus, what's the differences? There's quite a few differences, to be fair, mate, but I guess there's also some similarities in the fact that they're both very narrative kind of, like when I say narrative, it's not like they're kind of not competitive or anything. They're narrative games in terms of the story is important to them. They're scenario driven. I would say Wild West Exodus uses more minis. Wild West, I would say they're similar in the fact that they both have a unique mechanic. So Wild West Exodus uses the cards, the Guts and Glory cards, and the activation cards to decide how many kind of activate, like sort of how many actions each character has. And then on Malifaux, obviously uses cards instead of dice. So whilst they're not the same, they both have a kind of like a unique point. But we'll maybe come on to some of that later on. Michael says, you were almost Cumbrian then. Forgot it was 8:30 start of day, still need to get my paints out. Yeah, get sorted, man, get sorted. Marcus says, well, I will not be chatting too much. I have my niece today. She wants to watercolour paint My Little Pony characters. Terrible, mate. Get out to watch this. Peter says, oh, good enough. Almost as good as Hamill. Ed Handley, yeah, good evening to you, mate. How are you doing? Vijay says, paid work. I thought Patreons were your boss now. Patreons would be my boss if it earned enough to not have to do some paid work as well, mate, but it doesn't. Like I said before the other day, like obviously taking a little bit of time off when I wasn't very well, kind of hit me in the pocket, and YouTube decided, oh, you're not doing videos as often now, we'll just stop sharing your stuff. So you'll be surprised the impact it has financially. So yes, I have had to do some side work. Jill says, depends on the thing, to be honest. Most feel like energy expenditure, so not so much. I just find it's something to kind of to look forward to be fair. Black Dice Gaming, good evening to you, and Kodos, good evening as well. Right, I think what we'll do is well first of all we'll kick off with, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. And if you're liking this content, if you like these Wednesday night hobby hangouts and you want to see them continue, please do give a thumbs up. They certainly don't kind of. They feel like nice community things to do, but they don't do my channel any favors, to be fair, because of the huge dip in views when we do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't mind doing them, but if folks want it, but like let me know you want to see them, kind of thing. Andrew says, good afternoon, vids for YouTube gods, comments for the comment section. You're not wrong, mate, you're not wrong. So I'll tell you what we'll do then. We might as well I'll give you a bit of an unboxing for this one. So what we'll do, if I come over to here, what I'll do is, if I click on that bit, and what I'll do is I'll record an intro and stuff later on for it. But so yeah, what we've got here is the Showdown at Retribution, the 2-player starter set. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this microphone. I'm going to move it a bit higher so it's out of the camera and it's out of the way of my hands keep knocking it, and we'll start again. Yeah, so what we got here is the Showdown at Retribution 2-player starter set, and this is for Wild West Exodus by Warcradle Studios, and this is just kind of coming in line with the announcement and release of their 3rd edition. And I've saw on a few or I've been listening to a few podcasts where essentially this is something that they've been wanting to release for quite some time. The original Red Oak starter set was more of a kind of, they had lots of sprues kind of lying around and they thought it was a good way to use them. This was something that they always wanted to do, but unfortunately COVID and all the other good stuff kind of got in the way. But it is here now, and just like with the Hunt for the Prometheus Dystopian Wars starter set, it's a nice big chunky box. So here you can see on the back of the box all the content is. I'll not go through it all because obviously we're going to open it up. But this is if you want to pause the video and have a look, you are more than welcome to. But yeah, this is the stuff we got here. So one thing I do like about these War Cradle sets is they have these kind of slip covers, which is a nice little kind of second cover. But there's something feels quite quality about these boxes when you open them up. That nice kind of like shiny embossed War Cradle Studio logo. Doesn't make the game any better, doesn't make the minis any better, but there is definitely something like a kind of like a touch of quality that comes with it. So as you can see, it's packed chock full with stuff. So first up, we've got this sort of token and template set. This is a measuring one, so the two bits kind of clip together. You've got this template here, and then you've also got a bit of a turning template there. So that's all good. You then have bags full of the mini bases, these stadium bases or the trophy base type things. I always like these about Wild West Exodus. They always look really nice. So yeah, we've got all the mini bases that you need. We then have these action and adventure card decks, and I'll pop them open in a second when we kind of go through the rest of the box, and I'll show you what they're all about. Very nicely, in a two-player starter set, you get enough dice for 2 people. And these dice are not your kind of just your sort of regular dice. These are 10-sided dice, and they're also nice symbols on them as well. So hopefully you'll be able to see that there. There's a nice Wild West Exodus logo. I think that's on the 10 side. And then you've got a nice kind of Ace of Spades type logo with a bit of a skull in the middle for your 1 side as well. And there's 4 of them per player. And they're a nice, nice red and black kind of marbled effect as well. You also get, and these were all kind of like wrapped and packaged up when I first got it, but obviously I was chopping it a bit to have a look. You get tokens. These are cardboard tokens. They just pop out, condition tokens. But again, enough for 2 players. 2 cards worth of them, which is nice to see. Often when you get these 2-player starter sets, they kind of there's a lot of passing backwards and forwards. If anybody's familiar with any of the Fantasy Flight games or or even the Marvel Crisis Protocol one, there's certainly a lot of sharing things between people. You then get the rulebook, which is version 3.01. So that's telling you that it's part of the 3rd edition, and we'll have a little flick about that one again in a second. You also get, let's go to this first, we get this quick start guide, which basically has how to build the models in. Which is always nice, because I know War Cradle tend to do a lot of stuff about kind of like look online for the build instructions. It's nice in a 2-player starter set to get those, and then it also has the stats for each of the models that are in this set as well. And again, these will be all online and kind of free to download, and you can print them off if you want to. But again, it's nice when there's a starter set and everything's in there that you can just sort of get in and crack on. And one nice thing it says as well is when it says this, read this first bit, is it actually encourages you to kind of build the models in a certain way to basically to be able to kind of like use them with a starter set. You can build them in a number of like different ways, but it's nice that it kind of gives you that information. And then here inside the box as well, we've got this Showdown at Retribution campaign. Just a nice little kind of like thin sort of like paper booklet, 10 pages long. And in here there's a little bit of a kind of a prelude to Retribution with a little bit of a backstory and about what the Showdown at Retribution campaign is. And then there's I think it's five scenarios in here, which basically kind of gradually introduce you to the rules of Wild West Exodus. And by the end of it, you should know what you're doing. So that's a nice little addition. And then the rest of the box is chocked full of plastic sprues. So there are some flying bases in here. Now these, I must admit, I'm not 100% sure what these flying bases are for. These flight stands. I think they could be for the bikes, but we'll come on to that. The iron horses. but maybe we'll check that out as we go. But it just seems that there's a lot of them if that's the case. I couldn't see in the build instructions what they were for. So we've got this big pile of sprues. So in this one there is 1, 2, 3 the same as this. So if I move these to one side, then at least you can see them a little bit better on camera. So there's 3 of this particular sprue. And as you can see here, this is the one with the shields in, and I always forget the name of this. I'm going to have to kind of look on my screen here for the for the name. These ones are it's the E something bots, isn't it, or something? There we go, the ER331E Tesla bots. So that's what these ones are with the shields here, and then these ones here with the big sort of like monowheel type things. I think they are forget the name now. So yeah, as you can hear, I'm clicking through and having a look here, looking for the information. It is that was it, the monocav or the strider cav. So you can build these in a number of different ways. You can have them as monocav with the wheel, or you can have them as strider cav with the kind of like the claws. So yeah, so there's 3 of those sprues. The quality itself, hopefully you can see that. It's really, really nice. I mean, to be honest, like this is the kind of quality that you'd expect to get if you got something from a Games Workshop box from Citadel Miniatures. It's nice plastic. It's really sort of crisp detail. The joins are in places where it looks like you will get nice kind of flat joints between them. A little bit of plastic glue will sort that out. You do build these with plastic glue as well. Everything is numbered as well, and that lines up with the build instructions where it has numbers as well. So there's no way you should be getting it wrong. But yeah, it looks really, really nice quality. So yeah, there's 3 of those, which gives you a number of different bits. There is this sprue here. On this sprue, we've got, I think this one we've got the 2 leaders on there. So we've got Tesla, and we've also got Eiffel. On this one, I think that's who we've got. Oh, actually, no, I don't think we have. I think we've got Tesla on here, but then I think we've got Smash and Grab on this one. I think we might have some of Eiffel on there as well. There's a few bits on there, and then there is 1, 2, 3, 4 of these sprues as well. I think these are all the same. Yes, these 4 are the same. So these ones will give you a number of different parts for, if I can see what these ones build up. This one's got an iron horse on it. Yeah, so this one builds up the iron horse. So yeah, there's some really nice quality sprues to them. So we'll pop them to one side. Yeah, these cards. So these are the action and adventure cards. So the way the Wild West Exodus works is you still roll a dice to kind of do your hits and your attacks and stuff. Oh, actually, I've just noticed there's a little one of those kind of strips around the middle that I can't get my hands off. So yeah, you still use the dice to do the attacks and things. However, when you are sort of activating your models, you almost get kind of random activations, if you like. A random amount of actions to take. So what will happen is you'll draw a card, and that will tell you how many you can take. So if I open these up, we'll see what's inside here. And again, there's 2 of these, so 1 for each of the 2 players that will be playing the 2-player set. So yeah, they go back nicely in there. So that's what these action points are for. These ones basically tell you how many actions you do. In the corner, you'll see there's numbers as well, and you draw these, and those numbers will also do things. Sort of who goes first type thing. Whoever has the highest number or whatever. That's those. There's a couple little packs of those. And I think if I remember right off the top of my head, there's like different amounts of them. So there's like 1 with 5 on. There's a couple with 4 on. There's a few with 3. So you're more likely to get sort of like 3s and 2s, and then there's some with 1 on as well. But it's also one of those things where if once the 5s come out, for example, you know it's out. It's not going to come out sort of twice type of thing. And then we have these Guts and Glory cards, which if I can open them up as well. He says trying to Get a hold of it. Let's get the knife out again. That's it. The Guts and Glory cards are like cards you can use basically during your games, which will give you sort of bonus and things. So for example here, the Guts one says, reveal this card and discard to gain the following for this activation. So you can get like a +1 to your activation. Or you can spend it on the Glory, and it says achieve the following: destroy a hand or a troop unit in a shoot action this turn and score 1 VP. So one half of this will help you kind of win victory points. The other half will give you kind of sort of advantages during the game, and obviously there's lots and lots of different sort of things on these cards that you can do. You've got like action points, reveal this card and gain the following for this activation. So these mean different things as well. So this is also part of the game. You could play it without these once you start first getting your head around it, but for me it's one of those like nice little kind of mechanics that's a little bit different with Wild West Exodus to other games. So between this and the action points and the fact that we're using D10s, it's quite a nice little thing. So the other thing as well that I just want to quickly show you is the rule book. So don't let the size of this book put you off. Normally when you get these sort of 2-player starter sets, it's basically kind of like a basic rule set, or a basic rule book if you like, and you don't really get any of the background lore in it. But in this book there is an absolute ton of the background lore and stories and stuff. So from kind of page 45 all the way through to the index at the back, to say 131, this is all background lore and kind of stories about the different factions. You have a number of different scenarios in here, and then there's a little bit of stuff about terrain and things. But then you kind of like the real guts of the rules kicks in. And again, it's one of those games that at first glance can feel a bit more complicated than it actually is. And it's one of those that actually, once you actually play through it, it makes a lot of sense. Reading the rules sometimes might seem a little bit overwhelming, but once you actually sort of move minis around and roll some dice, it does make a lot of sense. So definitely watch out for any kind of playthroughs online. I'm sure there'll be plenty around soon with the new edition coming. So yeah, watch out for those. But yeah, it's a game that just kind of feels very thematic. I like that kind of mixture of Wild West and aliens, and even a little bit of kind of sort of horror as well, with some of the body modification type stuff and the kind of the constructs and stuff. So yeah, that's the new 2-player starter set for Wild West Exodus. So folks, we'll get back to the main one. Let's have a little look here and see what you folks are chatting about, because I must admit that was off my screen when I was doing that. Right, I'll scroll back. Where are we up to here? Peter Nicholas, thank you very much for that donation, buddy. It is much appreciated. I wasn't really talking about money. I wasn't kind of. Let me get this microphone down again now. I wasn't talking about that to try and guilt trip anybody or anything like that. I'm speaking as I find, basically. It's yeah. I have to. You got to pay the bills, haven't you, mate? So thank you very much. Peter Stockdale, good evening to you, mate. Mark Halverson, good evening to you. He said he's enjoying a week off work. Very nice, mate. He's putting together some Tesla Shermans for Flames of War. Flames of War 47, Weird World War II. Right, let me just get this. My cutting mats here. I'll put them down and we can make a start on the minis and stuff tonight, and we'll get a better look at those. Jez Hunt says, evening folks, be in and out a bit this evening. Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing very well, thanks, buddy. Andrew says, I'm at work, working. What is everyone else working on? Jez is saying, lots of goodies in there. Yeah, I think from in terms of kind of I had this conversation when I was chatting in the interview I did yesterday with Lewis from TT Combat. We got talking about sort of 2-player starter sets, and obviously the value of TT Combat starter sets. Bearing in mind I did include both Carnivale and Rumble Slam in my sort of starter sets under £40 video, and it feels like now that sort of 2-player starter sets generally feel like they're kind of like £75 up over seems to be kind of the going rate these days now. So I think this War Cradle one is £85. However, I think you do get quite a bit in it. You get, I can't remember how many minis in total. I think it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I think it's 22 minis in there, which is a decent size for a starter set. 22 minis, 2 sets of the action decks, the rule book. You get dice, tokens. I think it's probably a fair price to be honest. Kath Smith, good evening. Nice to see you and the Smith family. Ed says shots fired. What was the shots fired? I must have missed that bit, mate. Jill says, yeah, the Iron Horses now hover properly. Yeah, I mean, I've got the old ones from the Red Oak set, and they kind of looked like they floated. They looked like they hovered, but obviously you end up just gluing them sort of down onto the bottom. But I do wonder if these, because it's not obvious what these are for. It doesn't actually mention it in the build instructions, and it doesn't actually say on here. So maybe they're just, yeah, they look very much like the GW ones though. You know, the ones that come with the, forget what they're called now. Is it not the infiltrators? The kind of the floating guys with a big sort of arm cannons. I forget what they're called. Carl Check says somehow, and I don't know why, but my mind is drawn to Marshall Bravestar. It definitely got that feel about it, mate. It definitely has. Ed says, I'm much happier with online instructions. There's so much one-use paper in this hobby. I know what you mean, mate, but, and it's one thing I meant to say, actually, in the video, and I forgot when I was talking about it, so you'll get the sneaky peek of that bit. Let me just move this and let me go back down to here. Let's move this around a little bit and get that under there. So, what we've got in this book, and I understand what you're saying about single-use paper, but so these are all the kind of like the stats for the different models. I would have loved to have seen these with a build instruction on one side and then a set of stat cards on the other. That would have made more sense for me, because you could have then obviously used that to build it, and then you could have cut them out, folded them in half, and use them in your games. But the problem is you can't really cut them out and use them, because on the other side of them is stat cards for other models. So you'll probably end up printing them out anyway, going online and printing them out, in which case then this is kind of a little bit wasteful. But it would have been nice to see those build instructions with these on the other side, and then once you'd built them, you're never going to use that build instruction again. You could just cut them out. So that's my only kind of my only concern. I think I'll feed that back to War Cradle, but I guess it's probably a bit late now for these box sets. Where are we? Jez Hunt says strength of the bear, speed of the puma. Yeah, nice loads of plastic. Andrew says plastic glue. Now I'm 100% more interested. Yes, mate, plastic glue. This is what this contactor, like Revel Contactor Professional, this is what you use for building plastic minis, mate. Michael Cowan says, no way of getting it wrong. Challenge accepted. When I say there's no way of getting it wrong, you shouldn't get it wrong. So basically what you've got is, if I go to here, these cards here, all these instructions have numbers on them, and then on the actual sprues themselves, if you'll be able to see that, I'll try and get close. You might be able to see, yeah, you can see on there, all of the parts have numbers against them. So yes, if you follow the instructions, you shouldn't get it wrong. Let's have a look. Dave's saying that's a lot of plastic. It does seem a lot of plastic there, to be fair. I mean, there's a good old pile of stuff there, to be fair. Jesse, it's got a nice aesthetic. I like that kind of. I like the Wild West Exodus stuff. It's got a bit of Wild West feel about it, but it's got a bit of a sci-fi edge to it. It feels like sort of. I'm trying to think what it. I mean, obviously things like Brave Stardust do spring to mind, but yeah, it's got that kind of feel. VG was saying, apologies if I missed it, but was there any update on Lost World Exodus? There wasn't, mate. Not yet. I assume what they're doing is obviously launching Wild West Exodus 3rd edition, and then Lost World Exodus will kind of fall in line with the 3rd edition. Peter saying it's a nice set, yeah. Just saying it looks good. Bliss says, I wonder if those bikes could be magnetised to be used either way. I'm not sure, mate, to be honest. That kind of stuff just, like, I never even sort of think about sort of messing about with it, to be honest. Let me have a little look at the bikes. So I would say I'm sure somebody will be able to, but personally I wouldn't mess about with it. I think it's going to need magnets all over the place, I think. And then obviously what you're doing is you're magnetizing legs on and stuff. And the other side is obviously on the monocav. It's basically there's like a wheel on the bottom. You'd probably have to have a separate base to kind of to take it off and put it onto the legs for the Strider calf. I personally wouldn't bother with it, mate, if I'm honest. But I'm sure somebody will prove me wrong. I'm sure you can. Jill says they talked about in the on tabletop interview the flying stands was something they really wanted to make sure were in it. And Ed says that was you calling out FFG on their habit of putting half as many dice as you need in the start set. That's what it was about, mate. Yeah, when you said shots fired. Yeah, I mean, I've had FFG stuff over the years, but I know they don't necessarily call them 2-player starter sets. However, there's always enough in there for 2 people to play. And then what happens is there's always that, the best way to get started with this game is to buy 2 starter sets. It's like, well, then it's not a 2-player starter set anymore, is it? I guess that's the thing. So I think what I'll do is I'm just moving some things around on my desktop here, so because I've been sent the build instructions digitally as well, because I think I've got kind of like a pre-production copy of this 2-player starter set. So there was a couple of errors in it, so they sent me the digital updated version that you'll all get in the box if you buy it. So I've got that on my screen. I've got the chat here as well, so I can keep on top of that one, and then we can crack on. Steve's saying he's currently building plastic models with super glue because I'm a heathen. I can't stand super glue, mate. It gets everywhere. It just makes a mess. I don't like getting it on my fingers. Yeah, I must admit I use it if I have to, but yeah, given the choice, I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't choose to. Right, let me just move this microphone a little bit here. Get that one tightened up. Right, let's have a look and see what we're going to build up here. Then let's start. Let's get rid of the iron horse for a second. Let's start with one of the nice leader models. So we'll move those to one side. And let's start here, I think. Let's start with Mr. Eiffel himself. So, let me just move these around a tad. Tony Howell, hello mate, how are you doing? Jill says, no, they're worse. They call them core sets. Core, but doesn't include everything you need. Yeah, and it's kind of like it's everything one person needs. But yeah, it's a funny one. I wish they would just do proper kind of 2-player starter sets. Is it Okula CY? I think that is. Says hello from South Africa. Good morning, good afternoon. I have no idea what time it is where you are, but thank you very much for joining us. Andy's saying, hey, I'm working on Kath, trying to get her to build me some tanks for Flames of War. You're not fancying building tanks, Kath? Is that what it is? Let me move this camera in a little bit. Whoops, not that way. Zoom in a bit tighter, and then at least you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So yeah, so we'll start with this one. So it's saying number 10 is Mr. Eiffel's head. We'll start by clipping out, all of the parts that we need, and work from there. So the body is number 11. That's what we have here. So you can see me doing this live and see whether it's as foolproof as it first appears, or am I going to screw it up live to the nation? 12 and 13 for the arms. That's where they are there. So these, I would say, are kind of scale-wise, they're very similar to Malifaux in terms of scale. I wouldn't say they were they're not sort of 28mm in terms of sort of true 28mm scale. These are definitely a generous kind of, I think even War Cradle themselves call them like 30, 35 or something like that, I think it is. So yeah, it's they're a nice size. Right, there's number 14. So what I tend to do, folks, is I tend to clip all the bits off. I know everybody does it differently. I clip all the bits off, and then I kind of clean them all up, and then I start building them. So this bit here as well. This one's number 2. And clip out these top bits as well. I must admit, I mean, I've always been impressed with War Cradle's resin minis, and I've built and painted loads of them on the streams over time. But their plastic stuff, and their plastic stuff's done in house. This is not kind of like sent out to China to be done. This is their own production, I believe now. And it is really, really nice quality. I mean, if I can get some of these and kind of zoom in, you can see the detail and stuff on the body here and things, and you can see that on these bodies here for these. I'll zoom in. I can see the camera above me there. You can see there. There's plenty of detail on these. There's the back of I think that's Eiffel's, or it might be Tesla. Oh, I think it might be back of Tesla's sort of cape or something. But yeah, plenty of detail on them. Ed saying, don't get me started on the best way to get the 8 tie you need for a proper swarm. Andy saying, I love 2-player starter sets. I'm a massive fan of 2-player starter sets. I've said that loads of times. It's just like, there's something about just getting a 2-player starter set, and sort of like, to me it's almost like it's like a little kind of like a little hobby box. It's like a little modeling project. There's a sense of kind of sort of accomplishment. It was just finishing and getting it built up. I just find it really quite rewarding, and then it's a nice kind of buy-in to try out a new game. So yeah, I'm a big fan of 2-player starter sets. I've got lots and lots of 2-player starter sets that I've bought for many games over time. Not all of those games get played frequently. Not all of those games have kind of been played even sporadically. But I've enjoyed each one of them, that's for sure. So for me, it's value in that respect that I actually just enjoy sort of building and owning them, really. Steve says the worst was the Legend of the Five Rings core set. You needed 3 of those. I think I vaguely remember somebody telling me about that. That's just like, it's weird, that, isn't it? Like, why not just? Now, I know why they do it. It's just so people buy the cheap one and realise they need to spend more, rather than putting the right amount in and then people going, it's too expensive, I'm not buying that. Jill saying, come on people, get the likes in. 28 likes, 48 viewers. Oh, come on folks, I'm sure we can do a bit better than that. Tony's saying, this is the new Wild West Exodus box, interested in this one? Yes. And Tony's saying, yeah, it's 35mm, these ones. Vijay says, 2-player starters, yeah. 2-player starters where 1 player is always human. Do you know what? I think that's just a personal taste thing. I mean, I don't mind that stuff. I think it really does depend upon on what the game is and what the factions are, really. Right, now I'm not going to clip out the legs yet, because they go in a certain order, and once I clip them out I won't know what numbers they are. So I'm going to leave the legs on the sprue for the moment, and I think we'll start by cleaning up these bits here. Let me move these down so at least you've got something on the screen to look at while I'm doing fiddly little bits of clean-up jobs. Kind Kath says, I'll build them. Just need to dig out the table I use for building. It's got an RC car in bits on it. Meaningful look at Mr. Smith. You two must be just sitting there just fighting with each other. In a nice friendly couples way, of course. Not in a kind of fisticuffs way. For those of you that like the ASMR squeaking while I'm cleaning up plastic, welcome back to the channel. Tasty Brain Drain, good evening to you. Andrew says the thing with Legend of the Five Rings was it's still playable with a single core set, and it was like $40 each, so pretty cheap. Yeah, I think I used to play a bit of Star Wars, what was it called again? Destiny. And when you bought those kind of starter sets, it was always better if you bought two. It's a very typical Fantasy Flight Games thing to just like, oh yeah, new game, you need two sets. Although they didn't do it with Star Wars Legion, because obviously the starter sets, the original one had sort of Luke and Vader in, so you didn't need two. However, it was the best value way to get more dice and get more sort of troopers and stuff like that. So it almost was by default. Let me just clean off this little bit of mold line down the side there. John says, with my 2-player starters, I always play against a human. The dog can't roll dice. You want to take that dog back, mate? I thought everybody had dice that were gaming buddies. Andrew says the hard part was $12 boosters that got you 3 copies max you needed of only 2 or 3 new cards. Tell you what, it sounds like it was I think most card games are a bit like that, to be fair, unfortunately. What does is there anybody here that kind of like sort of heavily into things like into Magic or kind of that kind of stuff? I was just wondering if we're starting to see like sort of shipping supply issues with Magic cards. I know the price of like raw materials has gone through the roof lately when it comes to stuff like that. So are the Magic crowd kind of seeing those issues as well, or is it does it feel like we're seeing kind of more issues in board games and miniatures games? Ed says you only need 3 cores for Legend of the Five Rings if you want to play a bleeding edge competitive at launch. I think is that not every every player though, to be fair. I think when it comes to card games, that's generally who it attracts at launch. I remember there being quite a lot of hype about Legend of the Five Rings when it came out. It certainly had an excited audience, because if I remember right, was it a reprint? Had it come back or something like that? Or I forget the background now, but I remember there being a bit of chat about it. I've let my cup of coffee go cold again as well, haven't I? Ooh, yeah, I'm not a fan of cold coffee. Andy said, I think she's hinting about moving my toys. She says, I love our house is full of hobby stuff. Yeah, if only I was as excited about kids' toys, because that's what my house is full of. It was my little boy's birthday not too long ago, and he had a party, his first ever birthday party, and obviously with lockdowns and being a bit young prior to that, and yeah, it was like present overboard from friends and family and school friends and things like that. So I feel like we've just got toys coming out of our ears at the minute. But that's a good opportunity to have a tidy up with some of the stuff, or have a clear out of the stuff he doesn't use anymore and send it off to charity. John said if I was taking the dog back, it would be because of her gas. I think that's you and everyone, mate, I think has that same feeling about their dogs, don't they? Dogs and gas. Just clean up a little bits. In there. Vijay says it just gets boring when you have worlds inhabited by rat people with Gatling guns, insect aliens, ghastly horrors, or possessed ragdolls. I never understand why so many companies choose to put The most vanilla faction in the core box. I think it's because, mate, what generally happens is the most vanilla faction is also the biggest selling ones. And generally why did GW put Space Marines and everything? It's the same reason. Why do they put what they call the Sigmar guys in the Stormcast? They put the Stormcast in pretty much every set. It's just it's the reason that it's because they sell by the bucket by the bucketful. I mean, if you think about some of the factions that people keep saying, oh, like especially when it comes to sort of like GW, who obviously sell in numbers that everybody else would be screaming for. Sort of there's plenty of factions that hardly ever get a new release, and then everyone goes, oh, if they release some new stuff, I'd buy it all. But obviously, I would assume that over time they know exactly what sells and what doesn't. So whilst you might well be in the minority, mate, with that viewpoint, if it's all done on market research, which I assume it is. I can't imagine that if they thought they were going to sell loads of it, they wouldn't put other stuff in. Peter says, I'm pretty interested in the D&D Magic set, to be honest. My favourite card game was the Lord of the Rings one back in the day, though. Love it. And Ed saying D&D Magic seems to be everywhere. I don't really know much about D&D Magic, to be honest. I don't really know much about card games. I don't really play them. After playing, like I say, I played Destiny and I enjoyed it, but it was horrendous, the money that was sunk into it. Right, I'm just gotta see. So what you've got here is you've got these kind of arms go on and hold a gun. So there's two arms, obviously, because he's not an animal. And this is what I quite like about plastic glue, is you get a little bit of working time to be able to put those arms in place and kind of get everything to line up and then let it all set. So, oops, me with my sausage fingers. Get that arm in there and to get it somewhere close. There's like a locating pin on the side of it, so it should kind of way too much glue hanging out the end of that there. So it should at least get in roughly the right place. And then if I drop a touch of glue on those as well, and then this will go onto there. Just breathing in, trying not to drop it all. Oh, that fits quite nice, actually. Just need to get that arm there. The super glue does obviously go off faster, but plastic glue tends to just give you that little bit of working time just to line everything up. That's that one, so we'll just let that dry a little bit before I put it down and it all drops. Where are we up to here? Steve says, was the CCG then was relaunched by FFG as an LCG? That's what it must have been, mate. I remember everybody kind of, I think I was gaming quite a lot at Element Games at the time, and I forget what night I was there for. I might have gone down to play a Star Wars Destiny, to be fair, but I think I was there for the launch night, just coincidentally really. I was there for the launch night of Legend of the Five Rings, and it was just like, it was absolutely rammed. Everybody was seeming to be raving about it. Andy says there's no room for my toys because of cats, snakes and spiders. I'm not really an animal person, if I'm honest. I don't know why. I've never really had any kind of like sort of want to have pets and stuff like that. I'm just not really an animal lover. I'm not going out there sort of putting cats in bins kind of thing. But yeah, I have no real kind of want to have a pet. I would say I like going away on holiday too much, but it feels like foreign holidays are a long way off. I know technically we can travel at the minute, but I can't imagine it's too long before people don't want us travelling anywhere in the world. Right, so that goes that way around. There's water glue in here. I think hopefully I should have my camera in a bit of a better position. I spent a bit of time tonight trying to get it in a better position, so you should see less of the top of my head tonight. I feel like I've found a good place for it now. Just hold that for a couple of seconds. John says, we had an experienced dog sitter looking after her, and even she rang up and said, I've never had a dog so gassy. Is it normal or do I need to take her to the vet? Oh my god, man. That doesn't sound good, bud. You can always blame the dog, I suppose. That's the blessing, is it? You can just blame it on the dog. Vigi says, that's why I raced out to buy the War in the Holes from Mantic. Yeah, the Gobbos and the Watkins a must support. As the Muppets at Spiky Bits say, I voted with my hobby dollars. I don't really watch any Spiky Bit stuff, to be honest. Not because I have any kind of strong feelings about them or anything like that. I just... I generally just don't really see their stuff. It tends to be so much GW stuff that I just tend not to bother with it, really. That's me with most stuff, to be honest. I'm not really a player of GW stuff, so I don't really kind of watch content about it. I've been watching a bit of Agents of Sigmar this week with their new Harrow Deep stuff. Just kind of wanted to see what they thought about it, really. But yeah, generally I don't tend to watch too much GW stuff. Peter says, best way, in my honest opinion, buy a starter deck, 2 or 3 each. Player just draws a deck and uses it, levels the playing field and keeps it interesting. It's one of the reasons why I quite liked... oh, the name's going to escape me now. Have I got it on my shelf or is it in there? I think it's in the house. What's it called again? The card game where you get basically fixed decks. I forget what it's called. Somebody will tell me. That's the reason I quite like that game. Keyforge. Thank you, Jill. That's the one. Yeah, it's the reason I quite like that. I quite enjoy playing a card game. I just don't enjoy any of the deck building aspects of it. Dave says, I'm with you. Plastic glue, 100% over super glue. We just got some Tamiya extra thin and it's great. Yeah, I just find it it's kind of right tool for the job kind of thing, really. Tony says, Doggy got all clear on her eye today. We finished her eye drops at the weekend and managed to save her eyesight. Wow, mate. Bit of good news is never a bad thing, is it? I'm glad that's the case. I always remember there was a guy I used to work with whose daughter was I think she'd originally been like sort of into like equestrian stuff and things like that, and I think she was in the army and she was quite she was like a show jumper or something like that, like within the army, you know, when they're kind of like some of them kind of like almost like sporting type things in the army. And she had a horse that was severely ill and had to have some quite major kind of operations and stuff. And he was coming up to retirement and the insurance wouldn't cover it for whatever reason. I don't remember the full story, but he had to remortgage the house. Like he was almost kind of retired, house was paid off, all that kind of stuff, and they had to remortgage the house to pay for the horse's vet bills. It's kind of stuff like that kind of makes me think, you know, wow. And I'm sure that's kind of like, it's not a regular occurrence, if you like. It's not like kind of, you know, even while I'm gluing this on, I know that I should just be leaving it off to paint it and glue it in afterwards, but what are you going to do? Hold that in place for a little bit. BG says, Robin and Pete over at Agents are great guys. I'm not into Underworlds anymore, but I hang around as they're open to new games. I saw you in the chat. It was Tuesday night. Yeah, I saw you in the chat, mate, giving them the giving them the Blitzball nudge. I had it on the TV though while I was just kind of sitting in the living room, so I didn't have the chat. I didn't have access to chat myself, but I could see the chat scrolling up the side of the screen. And yeah, I saw you in there, mate. This is the light Blitzball. Also got them hooked up for Dead Zone to play and compare to Kill Team. Ah, nice one, mate. Nice one. Ed says you're not keen on list building either, if I remember rightly. Yeah, I just don't enjoy it, mate, to be honest. I'd quite happily just have a sort of like a pre-made list or something like that. I enjoy kind of painting the models and kind of building the models, and I enjoy playing the games. But the kind of and I enjoy playing in tournaments. I actually enjoy the competitive side of it, like actually sort of playing against people, and I do want to win, if you like. But the getting to that point, the list building, the trying to analyze, kind of like all that kind of stuff, it's not really my bag, if I'm honest. Vigi says my next mission is to get Pete into Monpok. He already likes the minis. Yeah, I was looking at the stuff that what they call that Mythic Games is doing. They're basically doing the board game version, aren't they? But from what I understand, are the two compatible or something like that? Just clean up these couple of bits. I think the problem for the guys from Agents of Sigmar is that their channel is so kind of, it's so reliant these days. Reliant's not the right word. It's obviously it's been built around the Underworld's game, and so generally what happens is from a YouTube perspective, as soon as you do anything different, it kind of punishes you. At least mine's always been around lots of different things, so I've been punished since day one, if you like. So now it kind of, at least it understands to expect swings from me. I don't get punished quite as bad so much. I get punished more now for like varying the amount of content I do. As soon as I had kind of like the slightest of breaks, like miss a week or something like that, it seemed to kind of flag it for me. Bliss says I do prefer the plastic glue as well. When I do have to use super glue, I use the gel type, so I have a little more control. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the gel types of glue, to be fair. I'm not as keen on the runny stuff. Jill says, yeah, surprise vets builds aren't fun, but at least it's cheaper than a kid. I'm not sure that's the case, to be honest, Jill. I'm not entirely sure that's the case. So we've got that. We've got these little handles to go on, but I'm pretty sure that they're better off waiting until it's the last thing to add, I would imagine. Let's just scroll down here and have a look at the legs that we've got to clip off now. So what we've got is we've got sort of like these two claws here, these like legs dotted about here as well. So they're all numbered and they go in different positions. So I'm just going to kind of clip them off one at a time and glue them in one at a time. Or what I'll do is I'll clip them all off and put them on my table in the right order. So then at least when I try and get them all to like kind of like line up, so that all their feet are on the ground at the same time, kind of thing. At least they're in they're ready to kind of glue on quickly. Oh. Oops. Busey, hello mate. He says a horse is for life, not just for Christmas. I think that's what the TV used to say. I think it is, mate. Yeah, I can imagine it was one of those things where I imagine if you own a horse, you have insurance generally. I mean, if the insurance doesn't pay out, I can't imagine it's not going to be a cheap problem to have. But yeah, I can imagine that feeling when it was the guy had worked at the company for something like 42 years or something like that. Retirement, getting ready to go, worked all that time. And then it was like, right, bang, you need to keep working because you got to pay for this horse now. Couldn't believe it. But each to their own. I guess folks treat animals like family, don't they? So it's in the same way I would do it for my kids. I'm sure people do it for their pets. Evening Busey, by the way. Evening Ariel as well. John says, my favourite way to list build is to play lots of games and decide what I like from that. It's nice when I can play that many games. I think the problem I have, mate, is that you have to start somewhere. So if you in order to play a game, you need to kind of have the minis to play the game. You need to put something together, and in order to put it together, I like to kind of know sort of what my list is really. I tend to try and just do it that way. So the games that have very kind of open-ended list building or more simplified list building tend to kind of see the table more often for me, where it's not much of an issue. If I take something like Marvel, for example, where you just basically you can pretty much mix and match whatever you want within some kind of quite obvious limitations. Yeah, it works really well. I'm just not into the kind of... I think it's one of the reasons why I just never really got away with kind of like 40k and stuff. Because of all the games I've played over the years, AOS and 40k, for example, are games where you can have a list that just doesn't work. You can put yourself together like a nice army list or a nice force or something like that, purely based upon the models that you like the look of, and it just gets sort of blasted off the table in the first turn kind of thing. And unfortunately, that's just not fun, no matter how thematic it might seem. Unless the theme of your army is to die first turn, it's not very fulfilling. But yeah, it's one of those games where you obviously you invest heavily in financially and in time putting together like a nice looking sort of army, a nice looking force, and then if playing the game is important to you as well, which it is to me, you at least want it to be able to stay there and sort of give you a bit of fun experience. But yeah, I'm just not the kind of gamer that enjoys putting the time into kind of like the sort of the game outside of the game, like, you know, like trying to crack the code of what works really well and find all the tricks. It's just not what I enjoy. VG says, yeah, the Kickstarter with Mythic is a 2-player starter on a smaller board with more minis and factions in plastic in the box. It's the same mechanics and all minis will be cross compatible. Yeah. The worry for me is I just can't understand why they're doing it. It doesn't make any sense why Privateer Press couldn't just do that themselves. Andy says she doesn't build these tanks. Because, yeah, I think we've all had horse at some point. Remember that horse meat scandal? I've definitely had horse before. I've had it by choice. But yeah, I'm sure I probably had it unexpectedly as well at some point. Ariel says, my gaming group is going full on with both rule sets of Conquest. We got swallowed by the cool lore. To be fair to the guys at Conquest, the Parabellum, they spent a lot of time building the lore in the background before the game even saw the light of day. It was definitely part of their kind of marketing plan, was to try and build that world up before they really got to the point of launching it. So good. I'm glad to see for them it's taken off. I'm not a huge massive fan of the minis, if I'm perfectly honest. There's nothing really kind of stands out to me about them. But yeah, I'm aware that's a personal taste thing. But I would like to try the kind of like the newer skirmish rules. I wasn't a huge fan of the bigger scale, but I wouldn't mind trying the skirmish rules just for completeness, to see at least I've got an opinion on it kind of thing. Because at the minute, I don't know anything about it to have an opinion or not. Andy says, is the brewery started yet? No, not yet, mate. Not yet. Maybe one day. Right, so these do have... So these have like little pins in them. I don't know if I can kind of... Let's see if I can get that. You can see that in the bottom of there. If I can get, you can see just there. There's a little hole, and then on there, there's like a little kind of dimple, little nipple type thing. So there's a place that kind of goes into. Don't think it's not obvious kind of where that twists around to. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just do them one at a time, pop them in, and then try and get all of the legs to kind of like line up. I think that's going to be the way to do it. So and that's the one at the back. A bit of glue in there. A little double do ya. That's it. Right, so that's in there now. We'll get back to that and level that one up once it's ready. And then the next one's got like a little line that fits with that bit. Okay, so I think this one will go only one way really, that one. I'll leave out the two front ones because they're like kind of claws as opposed to kind of arms. That one fits in there. I'm just kind of rotating that one around until it fits. That's it. And then the one at the back, again, this one's got a bit of a line in it, like a place where it fits. I assume that one must kind of come out to the side a bit. Is that, oops, that was not quite in. Just some of that off a bit. Just trying to get that lined up. Apologies for the silence while I'm trying to get that to fit. There we go. That one's just not quite. I'm not sure if I got that right. I'm not sure if that back leg's meant to be kind of slightly up in the air or not. How have I got that? We'll move it a bit to make sure that. Let's just put a little bit more glue in there. The one of the four that I'm kind of having a tiny little bit of struggle with is the one that's just got like a little dimple or something, as opposed to like a nice sort of like solid like locator pin type thing. The best thing to do is just kind of like line them up, make it fit for myself, I think, and get it so it fits that way. I'll just hold that for a second, I think. I'm not worried about any kind of like little movement, because what we'll do is we can always like kind of base it with a little bit of rocks and stuff underneath or something like that. Jill says, totally the same when it comes to list building. One of the reasons I've not been to an event. Booked for one for March though, so I have 5 months to figure it out. Yeah. Andy saying, has bacon been mentioned yet? I think you're the first tonight, mate. Andy saying skirmish games are a good idea. Yeah, I quite like skirmish games for that kind of sort of less sort of have kind of open-ended options and stuff, but less models to have to worry about when it comes to list building. VG says, obviously I have no inside knowledge, but I think it's because people have been asking for a 2-player starter for ages, where instead of just slapping 2 faction starters together, they decided to try out a new format to give the game more variety. And as for using Mythic, your guess is as good as mine. That's the bit I don't understand, mate. I understand kind of trying something different. I just don't understand why use Mythic to do it. It's almost like sort of like they're not kind of good enough to do it themselves anymore, kind of thing. I just don't understand. So I don't know enough about privateers, other stuff. War Machine used to be huge, mate. It used to be massive. There was a time when War Machine kind of was like, when it comes to sales and stuff, certainly in the US, it was always in the top sort of like two or three best-selling games. I have no idea what happened really, how quickly it fell out of favour. I think when they did Warcaster, it was I could understand it. I think that the biggest issue they had was basically when FFG asked them about basically making the Marvel game for them, and so they went to talk to Privateer Press about it. This is how it's been explained to me anyway, so don't sue me if it's wrong. The way it was explained to me was that FFG basically asked Privateer Press to kind of to look into making the Marvel game for them, and then basically they ended up just essentially deciding to start up on their own company, and randomly lots of Privateer Press staff left and went and worked for them. It says X-Wing happened. Yeah, I get that X-Wing happened, but it wasn't like, they're very different games in that respect. Like, if you're into kind of miniatures and stuff like that, then that wasn't necessarily the killer for it. To be honest, I think the biggest issue was 3rd edition. That was what damaged it, really, as opposed to kind of somebody else being better. I think Odgill's just saying there, Warmhorse died in the newest edition. Yeah, third edition was a bit of a disaster, I think. Right. But unfortunately, I think that it was by far their biggest selling thing. So as soon as that took a bit of a kicking, you can imagine the knock-on effect it had right the way through their business. So, let's have a little look. Unfortunately, these pictures, I'd like to see pictures of them together. I accidentally kind of knocked the box over here. That's it. I just want to see how that. I'm trying to see how the little handles go together on the sides, as they kind of glue to the front. You can see them getting knocked off straight away, to be fair. These tiny little things here. We'll let that dry for a bit, and then we'll glue the last couple of the bits of claws and stuff on once it's kind of got a little bit more rigidity to it. We'll clean off those bits there. But yeah, model quality wise is very nice. Maybe a little bit fiddly, but like no more so than any other kind of high detail plastic models. VG says, buy the Marvel game. Do you mean Lunchbox Rainbow? Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, that exact one. Basically, most of the staff that work for Atomic Mass Games or ex-Privateer Press. Right, next up, Emily. Is it Nagoya? I think it is. Yeah, Ed. I think timing wise, mate. I think it fell in line with the launch of 3rd edition, and I think essentially basically what happened was 3rd edition was pretty poor, and it fell in line with a lot of War Machine players or Warmer Hordes players leaving and either choosing to play X-Wing or choosing to play, like, Guild Ball was a game that benefited really well from people not wanting to play War Machine anymore. Number 15. Yeah, VJ, if you dig into it a little bit, mate, it's not something I want to kind of talk about in depth on the stream, because some of it could be incorrect, and I've only got word of mouth about it. But if you do a bit of digging about it, mate, you'll find the stories, and yeah, it's quite interesting. So that's part 19. Clip that bit out. AMC, hello there. He says, I haven't got my glasses to hand. What are you building? I'm building the new Wild West Exodus 2-player starter set. Showdown at Retribution. And this is Emily Nagoya. This is the model I'm building at the moment. And I've kind of, just off camera there, been building up Gustav Eiffel. It's Gustav Eiffel, isn't it? Is that his name? Yes, Gustav Eiffel. Okay, so those few bits. We need parts 17 and 18. There is part 18. So yeah, I mean, for a company kind of just branching out into making their own plastics, which War Cradle are, I think this is the first Wild West Exodus plastics that they've made. Now I'm fully aware that there have been Wild West Exodus plastics in the past, but I think they were made when it was sort of outlaw miniatures before War Cradle got a hold of the game. So I think these are the first ones that they've actually done themselves. And like I say, I'm 99.9% sure that these are basically like in-house plastics. They make them themselves. They've got their own production facility now. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I think they've invested in that. So just clean up these little bits. Just I've clipped stuff off. The molds are pretty good, I'll be honest. I mean, some of the stuff I'm having to clean up is more the fact that I've got an old set of clippers. I could do with some new clippers, and it's not sort of clipping off too clean from the sprue. So some of it's just my my own doing, really. But yeah, the molds are nice and clean. Yeah, as you'd kind of expect with brand new miniatures. I mean, some of these ones I've got will be among the first off the molds, I would imagine. So you expect them to be pretty decent. Peter says, I'm out. Helmet's done. Early shift again tomorrow. Take care, matey. Thanks for dropping by. Alright, that's our head kind of turns to the side, that's why it it felt like a bit of a funny fit. She's kind of looking over our shoulder. I'm just trimming up on just cleaning up on the little shoulder pad there. So yeah, I've had a I feel quite energized at the moment, if I'm honest, when it comes to sort of work-wise. I've obviously been through a few kind of little bit of a rough patch just health-wise, but I feel like I'm kind of, whilst I'm still none the wiser about what's going on, I feel like I've kind of like work-wise I've come into a bit of a patch where I'm really enjoying what I'm doing at the minute. Not that I don't normally, that sounds wrong. What I mean is I just kind of got like the wind in my sails a bit at the minute. Been doing some interviews with some folks, and I've been enjoying, like, even if folks don't enjoy watching it, I enjoy doing it, which was always the purpose of doing this for a living kind of thing, getting to do something that I enjoy. So I enjoyed the chats, and hopefully you folks do too. So yeah, I've got 3 of those filmed and one of them part edited. So I should do one of those tomorrow, so that you get to see it either Thursday or Friday this week, and then I'll have one every week for at least like sort of 3 weeks, and that's kind of giving me some extra content. I've got, obviously, I've just been doing this unboxing tonight, so I've got that to edit. I've got my Marvel Crisis Protocol 3D printed table that I'm making is coming on quite nicely. I've probably got maybe another week's worth of printing or something for that, and then we can start filming the kind of like the project build of painting it all and putting it together and kind of showing it off a little bit. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm busy, and that's it's helping me kind of keep going. Right. That. Oh, that's her arm there. So that comes across her chest, I think. We'll get that bit on there. So Peter says, yes, the chat, it's always informative and entertaining. Love to see sets and figs I don't normally look at. Yeah, it's always just sort of just to do see some new stuff. Glue her arm into place there. So she's carrying some kind of iron heart there. And then that arm goes on that shoulder there, so we'll clean that one up. Tasty Brendan says, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the interviews. Thanks, mate. Yep, Jill's saying, yeah, good to see you energized. To be honest, I literally feel like it's I think the whole lockdown stuff kind of hit me harder than I thought. I think like for me personally, the COVID stuff was one thing, but actually the isolation that kind of lockdown brought for me was the killer. That was more sort of, I think that was there was more chance of that kind of giving me health issues than the actual COVID itself. And I think that's where I don't think I really realised how much it affected me. And it's only now where I feel like I'm kind of coming out the other side of that, I think that's why I'm starting to feel a bit more energised again. The fact that I can kind of get out and chat to people and start playing games and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Ed says looking forward to seeing that table. All the bits I had printed, I've got like 2 bits left to print to finish like the base of the actual like sort of like the base 3x3. There's loads of bits of like furniture and stuff to kind of start to give it a bit of like a bit of interest and stuff. But I've got like sort of 3 bits or 2 bits left to print to finish the base off. So I kind of laid it all out on the table today just to see how it was looking, and it was like, yeah, it's coming together quite nice. Whoops, just dropping away that one there. I might have to just drop a little bit of glue on here as well. Just drop a little touch on there. I'll just help hold that in place. And we'll get the other one here as well. Peter saying, although I do seem to have enlarged my range of games and minis since watching your live chats. Yeah, I always say that, mate. That like it's never my intention. I'm not here to sell stuff. I know I've said that before, but like I never want people to kind of feel like I'm not trying to sell stuff. I love this hobby, and I get a lot of enjoyment from the research of finding out about new stuff, of getting the opportunity and being really fortunate to have a look at new stuff like this. I get a lot of sort of enjoyment from that, and I'll always kind of make those videos about the things that I enjoy. So let me have a quick look at this model just to get that arm position right. I think that arm meant to come right across. It's hard to tell. I'm gonna be looking at that again anytime soon. I think it's hard to tell if that arm should come right across or not. Let's have a little look on our card and see if there's a picture of the model. Kind of give me a little bit more of a hard to tell. Hard to tell. I think what we'll do is we'll play around with it a bit. We'll play around with it to get it. Where are we up to here? AMC says, enjoy what you do when it comes through and we all win. How do you feel about Malifaux? New book soon and I'm tempted to get the game. I love Malifaux, mate. I'm a huge fan of Malifaux. Yeah, the new book, the Malifaux, is it Malifaux Burns or Malifaux Burning? I think it's Malifaux Burns, I think, isn't it? Yeah, I love what they're doing with the titles. I think it's a great way to grow the game without making it like unwieldy. And I think sort of giving you multiple leader options is a great way to mix up a faction without having to feel like you need to buy a new faction kind of thing. I'll tell you what, I forgot this camera's so far away. We're going to zoom in a little bit more. But at least you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Didn't realise that camera was so far out. There we go. So there's these coming together. We'll just pop her. In fact, we'll pop her there while she's drying. Now what we'll do is we'll get. I'll kind of show you this one now. He's starting to dry off a little bit. He's got a couple of claws to go into the front there. I think we'll put those in. Peter says, it's good to chat, although I'm not sociable generally. I definitely had COVID blues. I'm quite kind of like, I wouldn't say I kind of like go out or not. Like, I'm not like some kind of like sort of party person, but I do like, I like to get out of the house. I like to kind of meet people. I love chatting to folks, especially about like about games and about hobby and stuff like that. But I think it's really kind of like, it's really affected me generally in the fact that like it kind of took the wind out of my sails. Is that even like though I could go out again, I didn't really feel like I wanted to. I just felt like I'd got so used to staying at home, and it wasn't like kind of like fear of going out or any of that stuff. It was just like I felt like it kind of like sapped my energy. I think it was weird, really. Which it's took me a few months, I think, to start to feel like things are getting sort of back to how I want them to be. But yeah, it's a funny one. But yeah, that's yeah, I'm starting to come together now. A little bit of clean up there, just on the bottom corner there. But I'll let that dry properly before I start messing about. So yeah, we've got two built. I'm not going fast tonight, that's for sure. VG says, have you ever thought of doing videos on what makes this game great, where you look at games and discuss the bits you think make them stand out for you? Never hurts to piggyback the algorithm. The algorithm, mate, doesn't like anything that's not 40k generally. So unfortunately, that's always the problem when it comes to YouTube stuff. So I have to make a distinction between, do I make something that will get clicks because it's popular and folks want to see it, or do I make something because it's just generally quite interesting to me? So that's always the balance. Stu says, good evening, late to the party but loving the background music. I can't hear it, mate. If I could hear it, you'd be able to hear it coming through my microphone, so I have no idea what the music is. It's just on like one of those kind of royalty free sort of playlists, basically, so that I don't get stung for using royalty music. Andy says, everyone in this group buys more than they need. I have loads of unopened. That's why we all do this stuff. Busey says, anyone upgraded to Windows 11 yet? It's just come up on the laptop. Worried about doing it. Not even sure, mate. I've done some updates and stuff lately, but I've got no idea whether it's Windows 11 or not. I remember back in the day when you used to buy that stuff. 23 and 24 is the heads. There's 24. So the one I'm doing now is a model called Smash and Grab, which is kind of part robot, part human. And the background story behind it is basically the two parts hate each other. So they're not exactly best of friends. It's quite interesting. These are all the little bits I'm just clipping off now, just to kind of decorate around that top half of it. 28, 29's here. That goes on there on the top of 25, which is this. So, as you can see, I'm not the world's fastest builder of models. You wouldn't want to be paying me to build your models anyway, or if you were, I'd have to charge you by the hour. It would take me that long. But a lot of, I tell you what, doing it live on stream slows me down. I do. I think I can paint on stream without much issue. When it comes to building, I think it takes a little bit more thought. I guess it's less creative when I'm just kind of generally just banging stuff together. Right, let's get these legs done first. Vigi says there's a guy that does what makes a song great, and I've seen a bunch of other what makes stuff great videos, but could be my feed. Yeah, I imagine, mate, as soon as you watch one, it probably like feeds them all to you. I mean, I have used that kind of stuff before. It was like, there's loads of videos about I bought the cheapest XYZ on Amazon, and I know they do well, which is exactly why I kind of titled my airbrush video that, and unsurprisingly, it did really well. So I know certain things will kind of like trigger that. The problem is, as soon as you do that, it pushes you down one path. Like my 3 most watched videos for like the last 6 months have all been airbrushing videos. But I don't want to end up feeding that kind of beast. Otherwise, that's all I end up making. It'll punish me for doing anything different. So we'll see, mate. I like the idea. I'll be honest. I do like the idea. I think the problem is, unless it's something particularly popular, it never sees the light of day. I think the interesting thing is, I think what's going to be interesting is, at the minute, some of the bigger channels are they're experimenting outside of the box at the moment, outside of GW. So you've got people like Kirioth's taking a look at some Malifaux stuff. You've got people like Doug from 2 Plus Tough is doing quite a bit of stuff with Parabellum at the moment. So there's some of the bigger channels are like sort of looking at other games, and it's all kind of come on the back of this GW stuff, I guess. But you can see that the videos they're doing, like, whilst if I did the video and I got like, let's say 15,000 views from like a Malifaux video or something like that, if I got that, I'd be happy with it. However, you can see that on their channels that it's not scratching the surface compared to like 40k stuff or something. So it'll be interesting to see if they stick with it, because if they stick with it, then I think it'll benefit. I think it'll kind of benefit everybody a little bit, because it'll benefit the companies, because they'll get a little bit more kind of sort of eyes on their products and stuff. It'll benefit the player base, because people who maybe wouldn't necessarily have like looked at it are seeing it. But unfortunately, I'm kind of seeing that I'm seeing the videos not doing quite so well. BG says I got a notification saying my desktop wasn't Windows ready. Breathe a sigh of relief. I would imagine all my stuff will be that they're relatively new stuff, but I've not had any notification. I've had like updates and stuff, but I don't think like how do you even know? Right, I need to clean up that little bit. Man versus machine, says Beauty there. Yes, indeed. Cloud City TV, good evening. He said, sorry, joined late. What model range is this? This is, for those joining late, this is the new 2-player starter set for Wild West Exodus, the Showdown at Retribution. So I'm just building these up at the moment. So this is where we got so far. We've been building Gustav Eiffel. We have Emily. Is it Nagoya? I said, wasn't it? Yeah, Emily Nagoya. And these are for the Enlightened faction. And now, at the minute, we're building a model called Smash and Grab, which is like a 2-headed construct, part machine, part man. So that goes on over the shoulder part. We'll just trim this up, just clean it. Michael Cowan says, why does Battlemire take so long to dry? I want to go to bed but also want to finish what I've been doing. What is Battlemire, mate? I've never heard of it. Is it some kind of basin material or something? I don't think I've ever heard of it. So that fits over there and that bit on that. So we'll drop a little bit of glue on that. And nicely onto there. And the arm piece. Guess we wanna. I'm guessing we can technically put that arm at any angle we want to. We'll leave that for a bit and see how it best suits. Clean up these little heads, I think. I like it when they put the kind of connection points just like underneath the head, so the cleanup's not too bad, and the mold doesn't go like straight through the middle of a bald head type thing. A bit of glue in there. GW texture paint, is that what it is? Ah, right. I thought the name sounded familiar. I don't really buy much of the GW texture paint. I like the Valhalla Blizzard. And I've used the Astra Granite once before, I think. But I think that's pretty much it. I don't think I've bought any of the other stuff. Oh, I'll tell you what I've used as well. That the stuff that cracks. I forget. Oops, I forget what that's called. I quite like that stuff. Might say the plastic must be better quality on these, far less squeaky scraping. I think there's less to scrape, mate, as well. But yeah, it's really nice quality actually. It feels like building GW minis. I'll be honest. It's that kind of quality, really. Like there's some nice connections. You know, when you put two bits together and it like slots in. It's not like a, oh, I've got to, which way do I put this head on kind of thing. I don't want them to be looking in the wrong direction or whatever. You can obviously sort of trim those bits off if you want to do a little bit of kit bashed on them. But you certainly don't need to. That bit fits in there. There's one way to go on that or not. Glue. Agrellan Earth is a crackle paint. Yeah, that must be the one I've got, mate. I've used that before. I think I used that on my Wild West Exodus minis before. I'm deciding what to do for these, whether to 3D resin print some bases for these, like base toppers, like I've done in the past, or whether to just kind of sand them I'm not really sure yet. Yeah, gritty paint, pretend mud, that's the stuff. I've got some stuff, but I didn't think it was called that. I was going to use it on my other side bases. But it says, yeah, those GW texture paints take hours to dry, best to leave them. Yeah, my experience with them has always just been kind of like leave them overnight kind of thing, just put it on and forget about them. Right, gotta try and fit this bit into here, see how that goes. I think it's only one, just that one way to go. We'll just put a bit of glue on there. Jill says I use sterling mud a fair bit. I think that's the one I've got, Jill. Like I say, I bought it to put on the bases of my other side stuff. You know, the ones that look a little bit kind of World War II or World War I soldiers from the King's Empire. The bases I 3D printed for them are like kind of like sort of like old streets, like kind of war torn, if you like. And there were some areas that looked like kind of a bit muddy, and I thought, oh, I'll put some of that GW stuff on it, kind of give it a little bit of texture. And that's what I've bought. I've not put any on yet, but that's what I have for it. Peter says I've only got Astro Granite, just paint over it whatever colour I want. Yeah, it's the cracked earth stuff I really like. I think that works really well. And I think I bought the Astro Granite when my son was doing a bit of stuff ages ago, but I've not personally used it. Blizzard says sterling mud for the win. I use that one a lot too. Yeah, I should give it a try actually and put it on. I think what I wanted to do was get all the bases finished first, paint it and stuff, and then decide about putting it on at the end in case I felt like I didn't need it or whatever. Michael says I use the crackle paint on my Necrons, not on the bases, to make it look like stone. I've heard somebody else do that before as well. It looks really good when it's all kind of dried and painted up. I think I've seen somebody do it to make it look like sort of cracked lava before. Jill says I'm sitting painting grey over the sterling mud right now to make it look like the Astro Granite. I think a lot of those are pretty much similar stuff, aren't they? They're just different coloured versions, I think. Right, so that arm kind of goes back over like that. Pop that in there. That's the thing with the plastic glue, is because it melts the two surfaces, the joins almost disappear sometimes. Right, I need to decide which kind of angle to put this claw. Let me have a little look on the box and see how it's kind of angled. So this is kind of coming out forward. I think we'll tidy that up a little bit. Ariel says I use Vallejo texture paint. I've never tried the Vallejo stuff. I've used obviously Vallejo paints, but I've never used their texture stuff. In the same way I've never used like Army Painter washes and stuff, and everybody raves about those. That bit needs gluing back on. Peter says the plastic glue works much better, but if you're the previous owner used super glue, it's far easier to remove. You shouldn't have to do it again, mate. It should just be right the first time. I know what you mean. I know a lot of people like to sort of buy like second-hand stuff and redo it and that. And I guess in those instances, the super glue works quite well to kind of stick it in the freezer and then break it apart. But, yeah, I don't really tend to sell my minis, so nobody else is going to have to worry about it. And I just like, I mean, like what I'm doing here. I'm kind of like being like, you get a bit of working time with it. It's strong enough to hold it in place, but it gives you a little bit of working time to remodel or repurpose it, kind of thing, repose it rather. So there's a smash and grab, get in there so you can see the detail on it. Yeah, it's nice. I like the way they've kind of put like the stripe down the side of the trousers and then incorporated that's where the mold was. You don't really see a mold line down the trousers there. Nice, nicely done. We'll let him dry. Got those two little handlebar things to go on the Eiffel as well. No idea where they got to. I think I might potentially leave them off. I think they're going to be more trouble than they're worth, those snapping off. Right, we're going to do Nikolai Tesla. We build him. How are we doing for time? 10:15. That's all right. But I buy lots of used stuff cheap from eBay which needs redoing, and I'm often glad they use super glue. Yeah, I imagine in that case, mate, that's probably not a bad problem to have in that case. Just clip these bits off. This one is Mr. Tesla, not the car. Now this one is a bit of a weird model in terms of it's kind of like got like lightning bolts all over them, as if like the lightning's kind of like coursing through them, as opposed to like being hit by it. And I think it actually kind of like supports the model, so it's almost kind of floating. I think we'll leave the lightning bolts off for now. We'll get the main structure of the model built, and then we'll do the lightning bolts at the end, I think, because I think a little bit like the Gustav Eiffel one, the lightning bolts go in a certain order. So we'll 33. So we don't want to mess that up too much. 35 is that shoulder plaid. Goes on there, and 41 is the back piece, which is it that bit? Yeah, it's that bit. Is that? The way these have been painted up for the wall cradles sort of studio jobs on these is really nice, man. I mean, it's way out of my league for painting them. I unfortunately probably will not be doing them the justice they deserve, but I might be looking to see how to try and get it done quick. There's the backpack, and then we've got number 32, which is the other arm, which is, he says, looking for it. 32, he says. Not that one, not that one. Oh, there it is. It looked a bit like a leg there. That's the hand. That's that one. 32. The other shoulder pad. Peter says, does Goblin Games sell this set by any chance? I don't think they do, mate. No, I think it's I don't think they sell Wild West Exodus stuff. There are places sell it. I mean, you can obviously buy it from War Cradle direct, like from Wayland Games. So that's an option. But there are other companies sell it as well. But for whatever reason, I don't think Goblin Games do sell Wild West Exodus stuff. In there. Jacob, hello buddy. Yeah, I think somebody's just telling you, yeah, it's not Malifaux, mate. Yeah, it's Wild West Exodus, buddy. Peter saying it's £85 at Wayland. Yeah, Wayland basically, Wayland own War Cradle, so that's why it's there, mate. But yeah, I'd maybe put a search in online and see if you can find it anywhere else if you're looking for a little bit of an online discount. There are other places sell it, but I must admit it's not. I don't know off the top of my head who does. That everything? I think that's it, other than the lightning bolts. So we'll leave those for now, and we'll clean these bits up. Yeah, I started doing these hobby hangouts during the lockdown when people were stuck at home and kind of, you know, like kind of just something to do. Like I was going to be building models anyway, so I thought, oh well, you know, well I might as well stream if you like, and then kind of I'm still working, and it gives sort of it gives folks something else to do, kind of when they're stuck at home type thing. So they were nice, kind of like last year and stuff when we first started doing them. These days they're definitely a bit quieter. They don't get as many folks as they used to. Like some of the hobby hangouts we used to have like 100 people in. Where these days obviously people are getting back to getting out there and playing games, and it's certainly not the kind of thing that people watch back afterwards. So yeah, it might be time to kind of weigh up if it's the best. If it's the best option, I think, for the future. But because we'll see. I'm not saying we're going to can them. I'm just trying to get, like, I'd like. The problem is when you do videos like this and they don't get many views, it screws up the whole YouTube thing. This is why a lot of people do live streams on Twitch and do their videos on YouTube, so that it doesn't screw the whole thing up. But I don't really want to start going down the Twitch route. And he says, just looking at the merch, any chance of a Hobby Hooligan shirt? There will be at some point, mate. I'm absolutely backed up with other stuff at the minute, mate. I designed them all myself, and I just haven't got the time at the minute, mate. But I will try and I'll try and get something done prior to Christmas. So if anybody wants a T-shirt for Christmas, they can have one. So yes, leave it with me, mate. But yeah, I can't promise when it's going to be. Yeah, Jill's saying that's why Zob has a second channel. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's why kind of Tabletop Minions does these kind of hobby streams on Twitch, as opposed to kind of doing them on his main channel. It's because of YouTube. I mean, for me, it doesn't, like. I know this is not the kind of channel that's going to kind of like be getting sort of like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, so I'm not like precious about it. But it's frustrating when you make a video and YouTube doesn't even send it out to your subscribers. That's when it gets a little bit frustrating. And it doesn't send it out because those same subscribers are not watching the live streams. So they basically just, the YouTube assumes that because they're not watching everything, that they're not interested anymore. So it stops sending stuff out to them. And then it's just basically, it becomes a bit of a snowball effect type thing. Fiji says, I'd happily follow the Hangouts to Twitch if it's hurting your views on other stuff, mate. I think it's just like I say, mate, when I've gone through a bit of a quiet patch, like while I've been sort of a little bit ill and stuff, I've not been doing the extra videos, so I've only been doing the live streams. And because of that, like YouTube's kind of like screwed it over a little bit, really. Like now I'm starting to get back to doing the videos. We'll see what happens, but yeah, unfortunately, it's just It's almost, it doesn't matter how much work you put into it. It's in the lap of the gods whether anybody actually gets to know it's there or not. That's the problem. Right. And I know I should kind of sort of play up to the algorithm and kind of, you know, do all those popular videos, but not what I enjoy, unfortunately. Bliss says, I just got my overgoed and another mini done. Pics on the Insta and in the Discord. Nice one, mate. I'll check them out later. Andy saying, stuck at home, fat chance, never stopped. It made me angry that it was all over the country for work. That I was all over the country for work. But couldn't see my 100-year-old nan. Oh, honestly, mate. Don't even get me started. But yeah, it was. I think it was the right thing at the time. I'm just not necessarily sure if folks want it anymore now, which is fine. Everything has a shelf life. Go on there now. Ed's in bedtime for him. Enjoy the streams, but you have to do what works for you. Thanks for the chat all. Thanks, Ed. I guess it's like I've always said this before, that it's not necessarily about the views. It's kind of like I've always said that the channel works because of like sort of Patreon support and that kind of thing. So if I've got, like, let's say I've got 100 Patreons and the streams only ever get 100 views, but those views are all coming from Patreons, then what I'm doing is I'm providing the content that the people that are supporting me want to see, which is then it all works, doesn't it? But then when if I've got about 100 Patreons and I'm only getting like 30 views, like 30 people watching a stream, then it makes me wonder, am I actually even making the content that the Patreons want to see? That's what I mean by it. Like the Monday streams do all right. I'm not going to stop doing those. They do well enough. But I think that's just at a point where I need to. It's good practice to just kind of like look at what works and look what doesn't. Otherwise, you just blindly just keep doing the same stuff, don't you? Right, need to clean this little bit up. Andy says, this channel goes a long way to my social life. It does to mine as well, mate, to be honest. No, I mean, don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not like sort of, this is not like a kind of like a, this is not me saying, oh, I'm not going to do them anymore kind of thing or anything like that. It's just a bit of a heads up. I'm looking at it kind of thing, really. But I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at all the different content, really, to see what works and what doesn't. That's really what I should be doing. Right, on there. On there, nice. So these arms have like a little dimple in the back of them that kind of like lines up with another part as well. So they fit quite nice. And then we've got this one. I think one of the telltale stuff will be over the next sort of few months and stuff, with the new sort of bits of content and stuff, with the interviews and the hobby videos and the like 3D print stuff and painting guides and sort of gameplay things. See how all them do and see how they're affected. So I'm not in a rush to to make any sort of sweeping decisions, but I just need to wait up. Peter says, I can't see you doing content. Most of us wouldn't enjoy it much. Unfortunately, mate, as nice as that would be, I don't like. It's not the reality, sadly. As nice as that sounds. But he says, as much as I love hanging out with you, the crew, 2 mornings a week can sometimes be a bit much. Maybe scaling back to a fortnight or monthly schedules for hobby hangouts. I think the problem is, mate, as soon as you start going to fortnightly, people lose the they lose track of sort of what week it's on, and I think it gets even worse then. I think it gets worse. So we'll see anyway, mate. Like I say, I'm not making any decisions yet, but I am looking at stuff. I have to try and see what's where I get the best bang for my buck in terms of me getting to enjoy what I do and put content out that people want to watch. So. This is all new proper content, scaling back hangouts might be an option. Yeah, because the other thing as well that YouTube is weird about. So if I do a Monday night live stream and then I put a video out on a Tuesday, the Tuesday video starts to kind of like if in the first sort of few hours it gets decent traction, YouTube will start sharing that out with other subscribers, and then if subscribers are watching it, they start to share it out with other people. Unfortunately, if I then do a hobby hangout on a Wednesday, YouTube, the algorithm basically kind of resets and says, oh, there's a new video out now, let's see what this one's doing. So then they kind of basically so it kind of kills off the one on the Tuesday to see how the Wednesday one's doing, which is why I tend to kind of not do a Tuesday video, and I tend to release one on like a Thursday or a Friday to let it like have the weekend to kind of to breathe a little bit before the Monday one comes and resets it all again. So it's a weird beast, kind of the whole YouTube thing. Yeah, Jason, a fortnight. I think it's kind of like, I think it's quite a British phrase actually. Yeah, it's basically 2 weeks, mate. 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. VJ saying 100% what works for you personally and for the channel analytics should be the priority. To be honest, the channel analytics are not really a priority. I need to make it work from a financial point of view, and if people aren't watching it, then they're less likely to kind of to support the channel. So that's why it's important. Right, so that's I'll let that dry a little bit. Let that dry. Andy said, keep it weekly, but really mix it up. Look through your models. Do stories that's a laugh. Play Space Hulk live, where we choose the Marines or aliens. The problem is, mate, is it doesn't matter what models I make. It doesn't matter what models I make. It doesn't matter what models I paint. Sorry, folks just they kind of like they don't say, oh, I'm not tuning in this week because it's not 40k or because it's Malifaux, or I'm only going to tune in the Malifaux weeks or anything like that. Generally, it doesn't make any difference. I can do anything. So, Michael says you'll get the algorithm figured and then YouTube will change it. Unfortunately, yeah, I enjoy these streams, but it's your channel. No, like I say, mate, it's absolutely fine. I'm not making any rash decisions or anything like that. I just I know you're the regular folks. I always want to be kind of upfront and honest with you. Let you know what kind of like what I'm considering and stuff, because I don't have all the answers. It's nice to hear what other folks think as well. That's Carl Fredrickson, which has got the big cape on there, and the Union Bell randomly is on here as well. So let's have a little look. So the Tesla model. Union Bell and Carl Ferguson. Those are the 3 Enlightened models, which you can't obviously see. Let me zoom out a little bit. So we've done these 3 here. Yeah, that's the only thing with this is we've got these little fiddly, tiny little handlebar things, which are kind of meant to go like on the front, on the side here. And I think they're gonna, even just coming to try and paint them, I think they're gonna just snap off. You can't actually even see them on the image here. I don't even think they're shown on here, because I think on the drawing of where they should fit. Let me just kind of try and point them out. They look like they're on here somewhere. Like on there, on the kind of on the how to build thing. Yeah, I might just leave them off. For you say, I always find it hilarious when I say Fortnite. Aussies and Poms get it straight away, Yanks. I was like, Jill says, this is the only hobby stream I watch that has just one person on it. Living alone, these kind of things are a big part of my week, but completely understand. To be honest, I'm happy to kind of just keep doing them and try and mix it up a little bit and do different stuff. Maybe we don't do hobby streams. Maybe we just have kind of a bit more rambly chat type things. Maybe we look at like different options that way, rather than doing hobby all the time. Michael says, thought my wife was watching videos on her phone upstairs, but it was the little lad talking in his sleep. That might cue to go. Good night, mate. And Andy says, that's also a good point. We get hours of entertainment for very little outlay. Do what's best for you. We're not going anywhere. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. Right, I think what I'll do, rather than starting a new model, we'll just, I've got a bottle of water here, so I'm going to sit and have a bit of a, I'm going to sit and have a little drink while I have a little rest from that bit. Yeah, I think it's just like I say, I'm getting a bit of momentum going with the sort of like I've got videos like sort of in the bank ready to kind of edit and upload and show and stuff. So I think it's just a case of at the minute I need to mix it up a bit, get some fresh content up there. Get back to normal kind of thing, like get back to my usual kind of upload schedule. And see what happens. Really, I think it's amazing the fact like of how much of YouTube is a system that does not let you take a break kind of thing. It's a weird thing, and no wonder like sort of like people who are earning like sort of big amounts of money then it's kind of take a break from it. Like I've seen what happens, like just like having like the odd week here and there, kind of cutting back. It's unbelievable the difference it's made. I knew it was going to take a bit of a kick, but I didn't expect to kind of like sort of like lose so many views and lose sort of Patreons and stuff like that to the extent that that having like the odd week off here and there did. It really surprised me. Yeah, Andy says have a beer, man. I haven't got any beer. I have, but it's all in the house. I haven't got any in the fridge in the garage here. I've got water and cans of Coke, but I'm not having Coke before bed. Jesus, I'll be up all night. I didn't sleep well last night, to be fair. I tried to have an early night. I went to bed about 10 o'clock and then lay in bed wide awake till about 2. And then I ended up getting up and watching a bit of TV because I just wasn't, I couldn't get off to sleep. So I think I only had about 4 or 5 hours sleep last night. I didn't sleep great. Jill says they don't tend to take breaks. They bank videos. Look at what Guy did during his paternity leave. No break. And yeah, you literally can't. You literally can't do that. You need to kind of be able to bank things up and stuff like that. And like I say, I was already kind of running on empty a little bit, and then obviously that all kind of kicked in. So I didn't have anything banked. And when you're relying on live streams and stuff like that, if you can't do the live stream, it can't be helped. You know, if I was in hospital kind of thing, it can't be helped. Jill says easier when you don't do topical videos though. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's really what I'm doing. That's why I'm not rushing to kind of put out the videos that I've kind of been making. Really, I'm trying to like build up a bit of a backlog of stuff that I can kind of like feed out one video a week kind of thing. So I'm thinking like if I'm doing like a Monday live stream, if we're doing Wednesday hobby hangouts, and we're doing a video on a Friday, like at the end of the day, that's still 3 videos a week. Whether people watch them all or not, I don't expect everybody to watch everything. It's still 3 videos a week. It's still it's still not bad really, and you need to kind of like let some videos get a little bit of breathing space to kind of to get some views on them really. So Andrew says, what has stopped me is I do not have that voice, the semi third person voice. I don't think I've got a voice like that either. Honestly, I think everybody sort of doubts themselves. Just give it a go. What's the worst that happens? You don't enjoy it and you stop doing it. Give it a shot, man. Never let anything stop you, because at the end of the day, you can do it and then stop because you don't enjoy it or because it's not what you thought it was. But don't let something that's like is kind of in your head. Don't let something like that stop you. You need to kind of, the weird thing is being able to kind of just talk when there's nobody else there. You're saying it's not doubt, it's just not you, but you're saying that it stopped you, so therefore it is doubt. If you hadn't done it because you didn't want to do it, that's different. Right, how are we doing? Right, I think it's cracking on time wise, and I think I don't really want to. I'm getting a bit tired now anyway, so I don't want to cut any more of these bits out, because these bits of the lightning bolt and stuff like that look like they're going to kind of go scattering across the carpet, I think. And yes, I have got a grey carpet. So I'm going to I think I'm going to wrap that up now. So I want to say thank you to everybody that comes in tonight. I really appreciate you popping by and checking it out. I will have another video up this week. Like I say, I've got some interviews and things. First one will be up this week. I haven't decided which one is going to be first, but yes, we'll have one of them up this week for you to see. And was there anything else? I think that's it. Take care, folks, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.